Namaste, everyone. Welcome to the Charvak podcast. This is your host, Kushal Mehra. This podcast is special, so I'll tell you why I'm really excited about today's podcast. So, before I actually came online, I was just telling Manu that this is one of my podcasts that I had on my bucket list, and I'll give you my reason for that. Now, I've done a lot of podcasts where I've spoken about Kashmir, about issues related to Kashmir. But if you look at it very seriously, the irony is what is the name of the state or now the Union Territory? Jammu and Kashmir. But hang on, we never talk about Jammu. Everybody talks about Kashmir. Even when 370 was gotten rid of, guess what everybody was talking about? What is the Kashmiri perspective? What do the Kashmiris think about 370? What happens to Kashmir if 370 goes? What happens to Kashmir if 370 comes back? And if I was a citizen of Jammu or a native of Jammu, I would be sitting in a corner and going on and say, hang on, boys and girls, I'm here. We're also alive. We're humans. And I think we're all responsible for that. For at least, me now, I can say the Charvak podcast is not going to be guilty of ignoring Jammu, the history of Jammu and the people of Jammu. So guys, I'm very happy to bring to you Manu Khajuria. Manu, thanks a lot for coming on the podcast.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate being here, and thank you for inviting us. It's literally, you've invited Jammu, so thank you.
So Manu, before we start today's discussion and when we get into the nitty-gritties of Jammu, issues related to Jammu, I'll request you to tell everybody a bit about yourself.
Sure, Kushal. I would say that my daytime job is that of a mother. Make that nighttime as well as every time in between. But then somewhere around 2015, I started this platform, this community. I wouldn't even call it a community organization. It's more like a platform called Voice of Dogras. And I'm going to describe a little more about Voice of Dogras, but let me tell you the other things that I do. Since I'm based in London, I'm also a part of some diaspora groups who talk about the Indian interests being in UK. And one of the organizations is Friends of India Society. I'm the General Secretary for FISI UK. And this is my community work. And at the moment, I'm also busy writing a book. Again, it's the context is Jammu. It's to look at the the dharmic idea of feminism, and I'm writing that. It's called Mountain Goddesses. Hopefully, if I do my work, it should be out in a couple of months. And then coming back to Voice of Dogras, rather, it's like my baby. It's very, very close to my heart. And we have a very good team of volunteers who are in Jammu, who are based in Jammu. So basically, Voice of Dogras is a platform which talks about the Jammu issues. It sort of articulates and voices whatever concerns Jammu might have. And it's also a place where we try to showcase the unique culture and identity of Jammu region. All of us, as you very correctly pointed out, in Jammu, we have grown up with an acute sense of identity crisis because we've always been seen through the lens of Kashmir, if seen at all, or we've just been sort of, it's a wide, uh, a label for everyone living in Jammu and Kashmir that you're a Kashmiri. So who we are, what our history is, what is our uniqueness, what is our culture, the language we speak, the dress we wear, the food we eat, nobody really knows about it. So Voice of Dogras came about in I would say 2008. I was a young mom somewhere sitting in New Jersey. And then the Amarnath agitation happened. And that for me was a kick in the stomach, literally, because I was getting all the news about Jammu. And in 2008, you didn't have social media in that way. It was not so big. So you didn't have, like, I was at least nowhere on social media. So I was getting my news from NDTV and I was getting whatever online articles I could read. And I saw a gross misrepresentation of Jammu. The picture that was being painted about Jammu in the media, be it the print media or on television, was of a region which was extremely communal. It was as if there were some Hindu fanatics who live in Jammu, and it all became about these Hindus from Jammu are, on a 61-day strike. And it really, really pained me because that was everything that Jammu wasn't. And that's when I got thinking. So my babies were like really, really young. So I had to sort of think and wait for some time till I actually started Voice of Dogras. But that made me think, because I was blessed to have a good education. I thought maybe I could articulate. There was nobody from my region who was talking, and especially not in a language which was selling these narratives, which was English. So I have no shame in saying, and I think there is nothing wrong that in my region, especially, English is not the first language. So people articulate better in either Dogri, which is our mother tongue, or in Hindi, and that doesn't make the news. That doesn't make the narrative. So I thought that maybe, I should start articulating, because it was high time. I can't sit back and just complain and whine and say, nobody talks about us. Maybe it should be me. And when I started Voice of Dogras, because I had had an education outside Jammu and Kashmir, because my father had a transferable job, I had lived in different cities in India. I literally knew no one in Jammu except my own family and my extended family. So I reached out to four people. I mailed them and I said, let's do something about it. You all have had a very good education. They were all placed in different cities all over the world. And I said, let's just articulate, let's just put it down in a proper way so that it attracts the attention of not people of Jammu, but people outside, because they don't know us. They can't see us. I am sick and tired. I was probably in primary school when somebody said, when you get off at Jammu Tawi station, you take a shikara to Pakkadanga, which was my Nanihal, which was my maternal grandparents' place. And it's ridiculous, because if you know Jammu Tawi, you know that it's very close to the city, to the interiors. So I thought this is enough, and let's just explain. And we started Voice of Dogras. We have been talking about the Jammu region, its political issues, its social issues. We've been talking about the heritage. We've been talking about the discrimination, the regional discrimination that Jammu faces. And that's what I've been using this platform for. That's what my team has been using this platform for. And as the name suggests, Voice of Dogras, we've been trying to be the voice for Jammu.
Now, so here's my question. I want to dig a little bit more about this aspect that you're talking about the news. And this is fascinating to me too. And I'll tell you why. I have immediate family in Jammu. As I told you, my dad's side of the family, I have immediate family members in Jammu. Now, it's very fascinating because it's quite a significant chunk of human beings that are living there. In spite of that, it is as if the news coverage in this country has totally robbed them of their individuality. There is no Jammu culture, there is no Jammu news, and everything is about Kashmir. Do you think somewhere down the line it's also that the society inside Jammu has also kind of taken this as a norm or something? I mean, why is the news not covering Jammu as a unique entity? Or as one famous journalist in India, I think it was Rajdeep Sardesai, who had once normalized why Northeast is not covered because it is the tyranny of distance. Well, if the tyranny of distance is the logic, फिर कश्मीर तो जम्मू से भी दूर हुआ, मगर जम्मू कवर नहीं होता, कश्मीर होता है, तो ये क्या लॉजिक है?
See, we've been asking this question to ourselves, and I think there are multiple reasons behind Jammu not being important for the media, for the national media. And before I go into this, I want to give you an example recently and how humiliating this experience has been for all Dogras of Jammu. There was this, I don't want to take names, but there was this organization conducting a conclave on Jammu and Kashmir. And again, it was a discussion, it was a panel discussion on Jammu and Kashmir. It was online, so you didn't really have to pay for getting any speakers from Jammu and from Kashmir, or from usually the speakers are based in Delhi. So someone, I mean, when we noticed that on Twitter, many people from Jammu started tweeting, and thankfully we now have a presence of Jammuites on Twitter. So many people from Jammu started writing to this platform, and it's a very respected platform, that you don't have a panelist from Jammu. You have a Kashmiri Muslim, you have a Kashmiri Hindu, but there is no Dogra. I mean, you can take a Dogra Muslim, Dogra Hindu, doesn't matter, but you don't have anyone from Jammu region. And the platform reverted, even I had written to them, and the platform reverted saying, we will speak for Jammu. And this is a platform based outside Jammu and Kashmir. I when I read that comment, I was like, this is what you've been doing to us. And you have been selling lies and you've been making money on Jammu and Kashmir. This is a conflict industry. It's literally like a narrative industry. And you have presumed that Jammu should not figure in. Jammu doesn't matter. We can speak for Jammu. No, you cannot speak for Jammu. Only Jammu can speak for Jammu because you have not had our experiences. And I'll tell you why the Jammu society has also been very slow. I've been thinking about this for a very long time now. First of all, when the very Maharaja who signed the instrument of accession, हम कहते हैं कि दूध दोगे तो खीर क्या दूध मांगोगे तो खीर देंगे कश्मीर मांगोगे तो चीर देंगे. There is so much pride attached to for all Indians that Kashmir is ours, Jammu Kashmir हमारा है, हम ताज है भारत का, it's the crowning glory, etc., etc. But the man and the Maharaja who signed the instrument of accession and acceded this Taj, this crowning glory to Bharat, never gets a mention. Maharaja Hari Singh, he never gets a mention, and he was very unceremoniously exiled. So here is a state, here is a Riyasat-e Jammu and Kashmir, the size of France. It was one of the biggest independent princely states India had. Geostrategically, extremely important because our borders touch Pakistan, China, Afghanistan, Russia. Very, very important. You had a people, the Dogras, who are primarily a martial race. And because of that, also, we sort of missed documenting our history because we were busy fighting wars and battles. So you have the Dogras who, we had so much chest thumping when recently when LAC, the things that were happening at LAC, yes, हमने Chinese को बता दिया and etc. But nobody in India knows that the people in the 19th century to have defeated the Chinese were the Dogras. There is a Manthalai standard, a flag, the Chinese flag, which the Dogras captured under General Zorawar Singh. And you had Colonel Basti Ram. So, anyways, this great, glorious history came to an abrupt end when Maharaja Hari Singh is unceremoniously exiled thanks to the petulance and insecurity of Sheikh Abdullah and his friendship, deep friendship with Jawaharlal Nehru. So, for a people who had lived under a monarchy for 200 years, who were used to having a Maharaja who was amongst them, who was for them. And let me very, very clearly say here that was the Dogra rule, the Dogra Jamwal rule was one of the most stable period that Jammu and Kashmir had seen. Because before that, we had the Sikh rule and we had the Afghan rule and we had the before the Afghan, in fact, the Mughal rule. So there was a lot of instability. There was a lot of religious persecution of the minorities in Jammu and Kashmir. Then came the Dogra rule, which brought the most stability. So here were the Dogras who were comfortable with that 200 years rule of a Dogra Maharaja. And though, despite being a minority even then, so the Dogra Maharajas were Hindu Maharajas for a Muslim majority state, yet there was no conversion, there was no demographic change, there was no, exodus from Jammu and Kashmir, and it speaks volumes about the kind of rule Dogra Raj was. Suddenly, you strip away everything that the people knew. You exile the Maharaja, you tell him, he was called to Delhi. Maharaja Hari Singh was called to Delhi with his wife, Maharani Tara, and they said that you can't go back to Jammu and Kashmir. So this man has come to Delhi thinking, मुझे कुछ बताने वाले हैं, शायद कुछ हम सोचेंगे और स्टेट के बारे में, मेरी रियासत के बारे में. They pack him off to Mumbai, saying you cannot return, lie to your people and say you're not well, and you are going to recuperate in Mumbai of all the places, leaving Jammu and Kashmir ki taro taza hawa. And you send Maharani Tara is also told, because she was very popular with the Dogra, she said she was told you also can't go back. So she actually, there is an account in Dr. Karan Singh's autobiography that she sort of flings herself on the bed, cries, and then finally goes away to Himachal, where she was from. So suddenly, these people had nobody to look up to. The amazing Jammu Kashmir state forces, which had fought these battles, the conquest of Ladakh, getting Gilgit, getting Hunza, fighting up, fighting in Afghanistan, fighting at 15,000 square, like in those those kind of military campaigns were unparalleled. You disband the Jammu Kashmir state forces. It took a lot of time to get them included in the Indian army. So we were suddenly fatherless. And you had a Sheikh Abdullah who had started a virulent anti-Dogra campaign in somewhere around 1930s, hand in hand with British, who wanted to sort of control this region. So we lost our voice. We just didn't know what happened with us. We couldn't understand that what was happening to us for the nationalism that we had shown, for that signing of the instrument of accession, what happened. We couldn't understand that why did the Indian army did not go up to Mirpur and Kotli and Bhimber and get back our land. I would like to say that people don't know this. They make a huge mistake when they call POJK POK, because it is not, it's mainly mainland Jammu, which is under the Pakistani illegal occupation. But nobody knows that. You get the semantics wrong. You remove J from there, even when it's mainland Jammu. The people living in POJK actually speak Dogri or Potohari or Gojri. So you make them Kashmiri. You just strip away everything that we knew. And then, of course, for it took a couple of decades and more for us to find our voice. And after that, we had a Sheikh Abdullah who quickly brings in Article 370, who quickly brings in a 35A. He quickly brings in such laws that you completely oppress the Jammu region. The Legislative Assembly is full of Kashmiris. You don't have the representation of Jammu. And look at the Legislative Assembly. Just look at the demand for delimitation. You have like 46 seats for Kashmir. You have what, 37 for Jammu. So there is absolutely no political representation. You have stripped all of that. The education also, I have to say here that even the education system in Jammu was like not looked after. Even if you go into, if you go into Jammu city, you won't find a great bookstore. We recently on Voice of Dogra's platform, we asked this question to people: do you have a bookstore? Can you tell us your favorite bookstore? वो छोटी सी जो bookstores नहीं होती हैं जहां आप जाके syllabus अपनी university syllabus की या college की या schools की books that you get, you will get books like that. So you completely kill the culture of reading, because people were struggling ki dal roti bas aa jaye. I should just get some sarkari naukri, which was hard to get because there was no jobs. So we completely lost our voice. And of course, leaderless. The leaders that we had immediately after Maharaja Hari Singh left, koi NC ke saath, National Conference ke saath haath mila raha hai. Somebody is joining the Congress. So we had no independent voice. There was Praja Parishad who came in between, raised their voices. And Pandit Premnath Dogra is one of those people who did a lot for the region. So we just lost our voice, Kushal. If I have to put it, we just lost our voice, and we are just getting it back. We are just realizing, and the fear is lifted. I asked my father this, that why didn't you speak up? So my father, of course, was amongst those Dogras who had to leave the state to run his family. He had family responsibilities. He was not getting a state government job, a very, very bright man, but he had to leave Jammu and Kashmir to run his families, and he had to take care of his financial responsibilities. So you lost a lot of, there was a brain drain. A lot of people left Jammu region, and a lot of our cream is in the Indian army. So the men or the most intelligent people are in the Indian army from the Dogra community, and they can't speak till they retire. So all the articulation that we think that, okay, this is going to come from, maybe this section of the society, they will have to wait till they retire and leave the Indian army, because they just can't speak against what the state government was doing, etc., etc. So we've been living under chief ministers who say things like, "Koi, Indian flag uthayega to koi uthane wala nahi rahega," and all these kind of threats, all these kind of narrative building. Nobody's listening to us in the media. Delhi doesn't seem to be listening to us. Nobody in India asks, when Jammu and Kashmir happens, I don't blame them, though I do keep telling them that please ask, where is Jammu in your discussion in Jammu and Kashmir? So this is what happened to us. And it's really, really sad, because it's like you took the good child and you said, you are not bothering us. So we are not going to really talk about you. There is this naughty child, Kashmir, so to speak, and we are going to just keep pampering them. And it's, being a mother, I can tell you, this behavior or this way of treating a problem is not good, because the bad behavior is, you're rewarding the bad behavior. So it's just, you're emboldening the bad, the naughty child, and the good child is invisible. So that's what happened to Jammu. And when you said story of Jammu, it's actually an untold story. I would put a byline saying story of Jammu remains untold.
Yeah, I mean, I'm being very honest with you. So many things even I did not know. As I'm listening to you, I'm getting consistently shocked. And now I want to get into something, because while I was doing my research on this subject, I came across one of the most glaring discrepancies is the distribution of resources from the state itself. This is obviously, most of the data was before Article 370 was repealed. Now, could you actually shine some light on that? Because a lot of people don't realize that, as you mentioned rightfully, that the revenue distribution, as in, let's say a state collects X tax. Now most people don't realize this, because of terrorism, most of your VAT before GST or after that GST collection from the state itself was all from Jammu. कश्मीर में तो कोई बिजनेस ही नहीं होता रहा, तो रेवेन्यू कहां से आएगा? उधर तो सिर्फ रेवेन्यू पंपिंग होती थी, रेवेन्यू जनरेशन तो कुछ थी नहीं उधर से. उसके बाद भी व्हाट आई नोटिस वाज disproportionately humongous amount of money was going even from that internal collection to Kashmir and not to Jammu. So could you talk about that revenue aspect also in the state itself, how the residents of Jammu are hard done in that aspect also?
Yes, I would love to talk. And in fact, I've made a note of certain figures. I don't have a head for figures. So I actually made a note to tell you about this and to tell your audience about this. So first, let me tell your audience, because I think very few people truly understand Jammu and Kashmir. So this entire erstwhile princely state, it was made up of three, and after independence, let's look at that. It's made up of three big areas. And before UT of Ladakh was created, it was Ladakh, the province of Jammu, and the province of Kashmir. Now, though we keep talking about Kashmir, Kashmir is the smallest land area amongst these provinces. Now, with Ladakh gone, let's just look at only Jammu and Kashmir. So, Jammu is a larger area, and Kashmir is just 15% of that land area. Even if we talk, I mean, in terms of the size or the population, and of course, the last time we had a census was in 2011. And if you ask anybody from Jammu, they'll tell you it was a fudge census. So, I wouldn't go by those figures. But to give you an example, the biggest revenue churner for Jammu and Kashmir has been tourism. Now, what is happening in tourism? A very quick look at the Jammu and Kashmir tourism website, their Twitter handle, you will see only Kashmir. You will not see Jammu featured anywhere. And it makes everybody feel that Kashmir is, an area which is getting the maximum number of tourists, and it is not so. For example, I'm giving you figures from 2018. Okay, so Jammu saw 1.6 crores tourists. Kashmir saw 8.5 lakh. And it's very natural, because this is the difference. People don't know. When they talk about tourism in Jammu and Kashmir, they think it's Kashmir. And to break down some of these figures for you, Jammu having received 1.6 crores, where was this chunk of traffic going of tourists? Vaishno Devi, 85.9 lakh. Shiv Khori, which is a Shiv shrine, a cave shrine, 15 lakhs. Shardara Sharif in Rajouri, which is a Muslim shrine, 16.4 lakhs. And having said that, Jammu is a region which is made up of 10 districts. Rajouri is one of the districts. So Jammu is not Jammu city. It's not even Jammu district. There are 10 districts in Jammu, and I'm talking about all 10 of them. When I say Jammu, I mean all 10 of them. So Shahdara Sharif in Rajouri, 16.4 lakhs. Patni Top, also a huge number. Mansard, 10.77 lakhs. So Chetgarh and Araspura, 0.84 lakhs. So I can go on. It's like Sukrala Mata, Chichi Mata, 8.62 lakhs. This is right at the entrance of the state. You enter Jammu and Kashmir, and the first big temple that you will see is Chichi Mata. Then Sukrala Mata, Mata Bala Sundari, all above, 4.5 lakhs, 1.22 lakhs, Sanasar, 1.2 lakhs. Then there is a Ziyarat Sai, Mira Sahib, 4.5 lakhs. Sab mila jula ke Nangali Sahib in Punch, which is a Sikh Gurudwara, very famous, 0.85 lakhs. Then Bhadarwa, which has 5.89 lakhs, which was recently, again, it was called, some group from Pune came, and they I think, launched a coffee table book, and they called Bhadarwa region Little Amazing Kashmir. It's like, I can't even tell you how insulting it is when you compare it. It's like, no, you're just the Little Amazing Kashmir. Huh? Okay, so 5.89 lakhs for the Little Amazing Kashmir Bhadarwa. So, ye mila jula ke 1.6 crores was 2018. Now, I'll give you a most current figure, December 2020. As soon as there were some relaxations in the pandemic, the lockdown rules, the tourism that we saw in the state was Kashmir got 13,237 tourists. This is December 2020. 13,237 tourists. Jammu got 4,66,246 tourists. This is the difference. What happens to the budget? They have made some these development authorities, okay, tourism development authorities. So Jammu receives 872.7 lakh. Kashmir receives 2,224.75 lakh. ये डिफरेंस है. टूरिस्ट कहाँ जा रहा है? जम्मू में जा रहा है. पैसे किसको ज्यादा मिल रहे हैं? कश्मीर को मिलते हैं. पत्नी टॉप गॉट 262 lakh, पहलगाम गॉट 450 lakh. Now Patni Top is also a place, it's a skiing resort, so it can be made as good as Pahalgam, because we have all the things that you need for skiing, and we do have some winter festivals, very shoddily done, I have to say that. Similarly, all the development authorities, as far as tourism goes, which means Gulmarg, Sonmarg, Manas Bal in Kashmir, they get anywhere between rupees 300 lakhs to around 150 lakhs. In Jammu, Surinsar and Mansar, two very beautiful lakes that need to be developed, they get only 140 lakhs. Bhadarwa, Rajouri, Kishtwar, Punch, Lakhanpur, Sarthal, they got only 110 lakh. This is what they got compared to Kashmir. Even, Kushal, even for that matter, a golf course in Kashmir gets 225 lakhs and Jammu mein 145 lakhs milte hain.
What?
So, yes, this is the kind of difference. Dal Lake gets somewhere between 100 to 200 crores and Jammu region की सारी lakes मिला के, and बहुत सारे lakes हैं, मिला जुला के उतना budget भी नहीं होता. So this is what they've been doing. They're making money out of Jammu region, but the budget allocation is such that all the money is flowing towards Kashmir. And वो भी ढंग से नहीं जाता because it's being pocketed by people. Think, Bihar is the most corrupt. I don't know. I feel very strongly for Bihar on this. They think that that is the most corrupt state probably in the country, but Jammu and Kashmir is the most corrupt state. So we've had a very, very corrupt administration, and this is the flow of funds that you can see, and this is just tourism. This is just tourism. If I go on to things like what is happening with the jobs, what is happening with the industrial sector, the lion's share is going to Kashmir. And can I say a few more things about the regional discrimination? Let me come to a very funny example. There was this fire and emergency services jobs that was advertised. 90% jobs were for Kashmir, 10% for Jammu. जम्मू में तो आग नहीं लगती ना, आग सिर्फ कश्मीर में लगती है. So 90% jobs for fire and emergency services were in Kashmir. Okay, only 10% for Jammu. Toll plazas where you can earn money. 4 toll plazas they made in Jammu. Now they have removed the Lakhanpur just now, January, I think January 2020. That they removed, they cancelled it. So 4 toll plazas, one in Kashmir. Electricity meters, they wanted to put that. What they said was 35,000 meters in electric meters in Kashmir and 80,000 electric meters in Jammu. So paisa jab banana hai to Jammu se banana hai. Then there was a lot of halla. Jammu gets nothing without halla. So when they did halla, they said, okay, we'll put these equal number of electric meters in Srinagar city and Jammu city. Never address the issue of entire Jammu or Kashmir province and the number of the differences in the electric meters. I'm just saying giving you these small examples to tell you that this is the kind of regional discrimination. Paisa humse banao or paisa unko do. So this is what is happening. Even for jobs, whenever they feel that Jammu ke candidates zyada aa rahe hain, and this happened recently in the JK Bank, they had conducted some exams and the entire list was cancelled because they wanted to they wanted to give the appointments to political workers, and they said, "Arey, Jammu se zyada log aa gaye." And there was an audio clip which was made viral. This was being said by the governor, SP Malik, the former governor. He said ki 582 candidates, many were going to Jammu, so the entire list has been cancelled because political workers appoint karne the Kashmir mein. So this is the kind of things that are happening. You take the example of Mubarak Mandi Palace Complex. That I would say is the soul of Dogra history, Dogra identity, Dogra heritage. It's been looted 35 times. Fire, arson, looting. Pehle to Sheikh Abdullah took away all the paintings, don't know where the most expensive treasures are. The archives, I don't know what is happening to it. All the important documents which has this amazing, these history of these battles that the Dogras fought, from different treaties to everything, that's all lost. वो कहाँ पड़ा है, वो papers कहाँ सड़ रहे हैं, nobody knows that. And उसके ऊपर से this Mubarak Mandi Palace Complex, वो पता नहीं कितने सालों से बन रहा है या rather टूट रहा है. So even every heritage site, जहां कोई देख नहीं रहा होता है, they come, they bulldoze it, and they just erect a parking lot. So there is a parking lot mafia. It works very well under these corrupt administrators. And then any Dogra administrator, I'm not saying all of them are good, but some of them are really, really good. Anyone who tries to do anything for Jammu region, he is shunted, he is not promoted, he is suspended. So this glorious history, this glorious martial history was contained in a gallery. The Dogra Art Museum is just two little tiny little halls. I'll say tiny because you have museums, you travel the world, you travel across India. I mean, I love the Patna Museum for that matter. You will come to Jammu. There are two halls dedicated to the Dogra history. There is hardly anything there. It's a shame considering what the history has been. This is how they've treated. It's a complete obfuscation of the Dogra identity, their history, their heritage.
Yeah, but it sounds like it just can't be sheer corruption and bureaucratic oversight. To me, this just sounds like bigotry. I mean, I don't know how else to explain this. I mean, why would you have a scenario where you are so openly discriminatory towards a particular set of people in an area, and you don't even flinch? I mean, it has to be coming from a place of bigotry. Otherwise, what else is it?
Exactly, it is that. I would call it that because, when you talk about the very unfortunate incidents of massacres that have happened, the kind of conflicts that we have seen in Jammu and Kashmir, the Kashmiri Pandits having to flee the valley. Has anybody heard of the massacres that took place in the Jammu region in 1947? It's not a part of anyone's narrative. They were even worse than what happened in 1989. And I hate to compare. I hate to compare because it's almost like, you're trying to have a competition between who is the bigger victim. But I have to say this here that nobody talks about the massacres that took place in Mirpur, where women jumped into the Jhelum Kishanganga river, pregnant women, where women threw their children into the river and watched them, their bobbing heads till they drowned and then, threw themselves in. Nobody talks about the fact that these Mirpuris went to Nehru and said, we need immediate help. This is what is happening. And he couldn't be bothered. Nobody talks about it because we had the Congress rulers for so many years. And I'm not trying to be political here. I'm just trying to look for a reason that why would you not talk about it? Why would you not pay attention to these regions? Now we are talking about a state where these refugees from Pakistan occupied Jammu and Kashmir. And Jammu city, let me tell you, is the refugee capital. It has the maximum number of refugees. I think it's got the highest number of refugees anywhere in the country. So we've had refugees coming in after 47, 65, 71. And how does the state government treat the refugees? So the very people who came, they belong to that state. They belong to the erstwhile princely state, from coming from POJK, coming from Mirpur. They were never given any full rights. They were treated so badly. And Sheikh Abdullah was somebody. So after the Dogra dynasty, basically we had the Abdullah dynasty. We never had democracy. We had dynasts in Abdullahs. So Sheikh Abdullah said, I am not going to let these refugees come from Mirpur into Kashmir. Even the ones who were living near Muzaffarabad and Neelam Valley, which was Kashmir ka hissa, it was a part of Kashmir. He said, I'm not going to let them come to Kashmir. So all of them came to Jammu region, right? So this is bigotry. Why? Because why he did that was these were Hindu refugees. They were Sikh refugees. He didn't want to do anything with the Hindu and Sikh refugees. You had the West Pakistani refugees who came in. Why did you, every time we talked about giving rights to these West Pakistani refugees or the POJK refugees or the Safai Karamcharis or the Valmiki Samaj, as we call them in Jammu and Kashmir, Kashmir rose up in arms and said, no, this is about demography change. Please come on. This is the Muslim majority state, probably the only Muslim majority state in India. And every time there was a talk about giving protection or the due rights to these people, Kashmir rose up in arms and the center didn't do anything for so many decades. So Jammu knew that nobody is listening to it. Nobody wants to hear what Jammu has to say. And then because it became a conflict industry, which has become the bread and butter of so many academicians, so many writers, so many authors, so many TV panelists. I mean, the kind of experts we've had on Jammu and Kashmir, there have been some who are really good, but the others have been a joke. We in Jammu laugh. And you're very right, Kushal, that you have to, when you come from Delhi, Jammu pehle aata hai, uske baad Srinagar aata hai. But they just fly past Jammu. They don't care about it. And I have asked this question to a NDTV executive, former executive director, and I asked her, I said, why don't you cover Jammu? And she said, no, it's not important. It doesn't matter. And I had to say that actually Jammu has, the IB, the entire IB, the international border is in the Jammu region. Most of the LOC is in Jammu region. Very little of it is in Kashmir. We have the porous borders. I come from a district. I come from Jammu district. My native village is very close to the international border. These are porous borders. We have infiltration. We have those, tunnels being made. So everything is here in Jammu. We've been staying put. We've been fighting. We are the people who are the first ones to take that 60 mortar shells on our chests, literally, and you don't want to talk about us because we are not important, because we are not throwing stones. Our youth asks that. The Dogra youth asks that कि हम क्या करें, हम पत्थर मारे तब हम हमें सुना जाएगा. And they're nationalists, they are patriotic, but and they don't want to talk in this language. But what else do we do? We've been banging our heads against the wall that you don't talk of us. When you talk about Kashmiri food या जम्मू कश्मीर का खाना, you talk about वाजवान. अरे भाई डोगरा food भी है. When you talk about, and there is no doubt, there is no, see, when I am talking, I'm not competing with Kashmir. I think Kashmir is beautiful. It should get its due place, recognition. I love it. I love Firans. I don't want to say that I'm competing here, but I'm just saying give us the right space, give us the due space, give us that voice, give us that platform, listen to us. Our our remote areas like Punch, like Ramban, like Kishtwar, like Doda, these areas are so underdeveloped, and these are much bigger areas. The districts are much bigger than the districts in Kashmir. The geography is such that एक MP होता है, the district is so big he can't even reach his people. It will probably take him 3 days. I will cite an example of Prankot massacre that had happened in Jammu region. It took an entire day, and this entire village, the terrorists came, these Islamist terrorists came, and they literally hacked almost, I think, around 28 villagers. And it took a day for someone in the village to come down and to be able to say कि ऐसा कुछ हो गया village में. So that's the kind of geography we have. We have the more difficult terrain. We have those hills, the Shivalik hills, and we have that terrain, but we've had no attention. So it's really frustrating. And in fact, Voice of Dogras, the idea to start that platform was also because I was noticing a lot of frustration in our youth. I was seeing a lot of angst. It was not being directed, it was not being channelized. Now we have quite a few platforms. We have many voices from Jammu on social media. But at that time in 2015, there was none. And we just didn't know what to do, how to bring attention to ourselves. So that's largely been our story. And it's a story of bigotry. If you talk of one massacre and you don't talk of one massacre, the other massacre, just because it happens in Jammu region, it's like we've taken you for granted. And there was this, he's a wrong example, but I have talked to Farooq Abdullah here. There was a book launch, and I actually asked him that why don't you speak about Jammu? Why do you guys keep talking about Kashmir? He said, Jammu kahan ja raha hai? Jammu to yahi hai. So
Huh?
there is, I think, yes. So I think there is this idea कि जम्मू कुछ नहीं करने वाला, ये तो अच्छे लोग हैं, ये नेशनलिस्ट हैं, दिल्ली को भी कोई ज्यादा फर्क नहीं पड़ता because it's not going anywhere. So let's not talk about Jammu. Let's just focus on Kashmir. So that's been like that for so long, but I hope that it's going to change.
So,
Because
so
we are finding our voice.
basically, so Manu, is the leadership then telling you that, look, the heckler always gets the veto? So because the heckler always comes and, shoots at us, blows some bombs, then, kills some people, and, it's basically shouting all the time and saying, तूने नहीं किया तो मैं तुझे उड़ा दूंगा, तूने ये नहीं किया तो मैं खुद को भी मार दूंगा और तुझे भी मार दूंगा. So it's basically the establishment, and I don't want to take political parties and names here because it's pointless beyond a point. So what they're saying is that, we will always. So it's like you are right. You're in a classroom. So the most notorious student always gets the teacher's undivided attention because all the other students are like, हाँ जी मैडम जी हमने तो अपनी किताब निकाल के पढ़ाई कर ली भाई. But that's not the way it is, right? But the other student is also supposed to be taught. The other student is also supposed to be done. But then in that case, another subject, because you had spoken about representation and movement of people, this is very interesting. A few years ago, we had this whole Rohingya issue where Rohingyas were coming into India. Now, I'm sitting here in Mumbai looking at the whole issue, and I was telling to my head, hang on, even if these people were to be sent somewhere, they should be sent to Kashmir, right? After all, there is something called the global ummah, Muslim brotherhood. So, bhai, brother, go and stay with your brother. But no, they send them to Jammu, of all the places. I mean, hang on. Why would you want to stay with Hindus, man? They have different religions, according to you. Your religious text literally says you should go to hell. Why would you want to stay in Jammu? I did not understand that. What the hell is so special about Jammu that Rohingyas need to stay there and not in Kashmir?
Kushal, I would begin by saying that it's very interesting that the people who have been batting for the Rohingyas, and I am somebody who is volunteered for like 3 years in the British Red Cross, working with refugees. So I'm not insensitive to the refugee issue. I was day in and day out talking to refugees from Afghanistan, from Syria, from Bangladesh, from Sri Lanka, in the voluntary work that I was doing here in London. So I understand that. But let's face the fact that, again, the geographical location of Jammu, the sensitivity, the geopolitical sensitivity of this region, the way this region has been, the way the conflict has never ended, the way external parties have always been in Jammu and Kashmir. At any given point in time, there are at least 200 terrorists operating in Jammu and Kashmir. There is massive radicalization of the Kashmiri Muslim youth in the Kashmir province. It's also sort of, and Jammu has been very lucky, and it's also because its character is such that we've managed to stay away from this radicalization bit, but it's very hard to control it now, because now it's not just being run from the madrasas, it's coming through our telephones, I'm sorry, the mobile phones and the laptops, and it's coming to us, it's right in our bedrooms, that kind of radicalization. So in that kind of a situation where the Hindus are in a minority, where the entire Kashmir valley has been sanitized off the Kashmiri Hindus, the only Hindus remaining, 66% of them in Jammu region, and that too, they are not a majority in all the districts of Jammu, not in all the 10 districts of Jammu. They are, they are sort of concentrated in a few, like Jammu, Samba, Kathua. They're concentrated in these districts, the Hindus. So now you have Rohingyas, which you're very rightly saying, it's ridiculous that you have Rohingyas coming in from Bangladesh, and from some have been from Delhi. And there are, I'll give you example of two Rohingyas who were interviewed, and there was this article in P Gurus about this also. When they were interviewed, one from Delhi said somebody from Kashmir came to them and said, "Ki why are you staying in Delhi? Jammu and Kashmir is a Muslim majority state, and you will be very happy and safe in Jammu, so wahan chale jao." The other guy, this other guy who was interviewed, he said he came from Calcutta. So he said, we were put in a train and said, last station par utarna. Shialda Express jati hai from Calcutta to Jammu. There is this Shialda Express. So, and I think Himgiri also. It goes from somewhere in the east, and then yeah, it comes. Last station is Jammu, and of course, the last station is Jammu. So he was told ki baith jao and then get off at the last station, and that is where you have to stay, because there are some Rohingyas there. And almost, I think, 13,500, at least the last time I wrote an article in 2017, I would say I wrote an article about the Rohingyas, and which got me Anuradha Bhasin's label of Sangi, because I said ki नहीं नहीं ये प्रॉब्लम है, इनको अच्छे से कहीं पे रिहैबिलिटेट करना चाहिए, लेट्स रीलोकेट देम, देयर शुड बी अ वर्कबल वायबल सॉल्यूशन, this is not right, this is a ticking time bomb. So they come to Jammu. Who is doing that? They get an Aadhaar card, they get license, they get the much coveted PRC. I can't get a PRC for my children, Kushal, because I married a man from Bihar, an Indian citizen from Bihar. I married him, so my husband has no rights in Jammu and Kashmir. If tomorrow I want to take care of my parents and come back, and this is of course before the abrogation of Article 370 and 35A,
इतनी इतनी
fine.
ओपन मिसोजिनी है.
Yes, itni open misogyny hai, and they have defended it. This,
Ah,
the Saw of Omar Abdullah has defended it. Mehbooba Mufti, the woman chief minister, who is giving bikes and bicycles to girls and girl students, they have defended it. The Women's Commission in Jammu and Kashmir, I forget her name, the lady's name, but she has defended it. So they've all defended it. And why them? Every feminist in India has defended it. All the well-known feminists in India have defended it. So they will go blue in the face defending the Rohingyas, who have no reason to be in Jammu. And I appreciate that they've gone through a lot, but I also know that it's a ticking time bomb. We already have a very radical Rohingya group. I forget the name, the terrorist group. We've already had a Burmese terrorist killed who had infiltrated into Kashmir in 2013. So the security forces are saying that this is a danger. There is an imminent danger. They have made homes, they have built little houses, permanent houses in the land which is owned by the Jammu Municipal Corporation in Gujar Basti, near Narwal, near Chani Himmat in Jammu. There are madrasas which are being run. They have acquired all these documents which I wouldn't find it easy to acquire. And then when 150 of them recently were taken into detention, so as to relocate them. And let me say here that it was just 150, whereas we know that the figures are runs into thousands. um, these Rohingyas are saying that nahi, ab to humne intermarriage kar liye. There is an interview of a Rohingya saying that I have a PRC, but there is also a point that I have three children. My daughter has now married a Kashmiri Muslim, and my two sons have married married into a Muslim family from Batot in Ramban district in Jammu province. So what is happening? And they are settled. The way they are settled, they have been settled as they are sort of circled the Jammu city, and they are also settled in Samba district, which is again a border district with a porous border. The Rohingyas have been, besides having been caught in petty crimes, they have also been caught in human trafficking. They have been caught in bovine smuggling. They have also been caught in issues around cross border infiltration. So, can't you see that this is a problem? How can you not see that it's a problem? And again, having talked about the Rohingyas, let me come back to my biggest pain, I would say, and my pet peeve, the feminists, the so-called feminists from Delhi University, from New Delhi, from all these people who have come to Jammu University and held these talks, these lectures that they hold, they never spoke up for the women of Jammu and Kashmir. That this is the 35A was a gender discriminatory law which said that because you have chosen to marry another Indian citizen, be it from Bihar, Uttar Pradesh, from even Himachal, because a lot of intermarriage used to take place between the Jammu region and Himachal Pradesh, because the ethnicity are the same. The Himachalis are also Dogras. So even if somebody has married off their daughter to someone in Himachal Pradesh, to a family in Himachal or Gurdaspur, Gurdaspur is also a very Dogra, I would say Dogra majority district. So they would be like, you have no rights to the land, or you have no rights to property. And then they said, then there was a case in 2002, Sheila Sahni case, and they said, no, no, you can, the girl can have the property, but she can't pass it on to her child. So what's the point? If I can't pass on my property to my children, what do I do with that property? If my children don't have rights in that state, how can I come back? If I'm the only daughter for my parents, and or I'm the only child who can take care of my parents, and I want to come back, you're telling me desh nikala de diya. The second I do the saat feras, you give me desh nikala. So none of the feminists raised this ever. None of these media personalities, these women, who will jump and say ki, kya ho gaya, all hell has broken loose, never ever spoke for the women of Jammu and Kashmir. This The very idea that matrimony is the basis for your domicile was removed, or was rather completely cut off from the books, the legal books in England in the 1970s. The judgment said that it's the most barbaric relic, and it's so regressive, because you are saying that a woman ka domicile is decided by who she marries, but our feminists never spoke for that. But the Rohingya issue, you will have everyone speak for them. I was reading a few articles about Rohingyas. If you do Rohingyas in Jammu, all you get on internet is unke saath kitna bura ho raha hai. Where will they go? They have been, they have suffered so much. I agree. If they have suffered so much, maybe relocate them somewhere else. Send them to Kashmir. Kashmir is where all the, their अपने faith वाले लोग हैं, उनको वहां भेज दो. जम्मू में already problem है. When you have cried every time that we are not going to abrogate the 370 or the 35A because demographic change होने वाली है. So similarly, the Jammu Hindus can also say the same thing. So this is the double standard that has been happening, and it kind of makes you question: ki, is there a greater game plan? What do you want to do? You have already removed the Kashmiri Hindus from the valley. Do you want to do something similar in Jammu?
Yeah, so somebody has actually in the live stream has asked a very good question. So they have asked, what do you think about the delimitation process in Jammu and Kashmir? Should Jammu then eventually post a delimitation? How much more representation should Jammu then get in the valley, according to you? Have you guys done some kind of survey on that? I think that's what they're trying to ask.
I think I haven't personally done any survey, but there are quite a few academics and intellectuals in Jammu like Daya Sagar, Sant Kumar Sharma, and you can look up their articles, who have done a lot of research in this, and it's in process. So I can't tell you how many number of seats more we should get, but I am definitely of the opinion that we should be getting more, primarily looking at the landmass and the geography and the availability of services of communication. These are the different parameters on which the delimitation should happen. And even before the delimitation, there should be a reconstruction, a reorganization of the district administrative units. We definitely need more districts. So you have like this big, huge district, say Kathua for that matter, actually needs to break into two districts, Kishtwar for that matter, or Doda for that matter. Even Jammu district, may maybe Akhnur needs a new district, Basoli needs to be a new district, Bhadarwa needs to be a new district. So we basically need no more districts for better governance, for effective talk about limitation, delimitation. And also, I would like to say here that many people in Jammu feel that census should be not, the population should not be the only criteria, because, and also definitely not the census that took place in 2011, because we believe it was fudged. There has been an exponential increase in the population of Kashmir and only a 5% increase in Jammu, despite all the refugee influx coming and happening in Jammu. So it's very questionable. So definitely all the parameters must be considered, and if someone does a judicious job, there is undoubtedly Jammu should be getting more assembly seats, should be getting more districts. There is no doubt about that.
So then, a follow up to that: do you think the repeal of 370 and this correction, course correction with 35A2, eventually would actually lead to better things for Jammu in the future, Manu? According to you?
We are hoping, Kushal. We are hoping against hopes, but such has been the bureaucracy, the administration, that it's so hard for any governor. Also, if you talk to the people of Jammu, they'll tell you we have a new governor, we have a very honest governor, but the administration, the tentacles of a very, very corrupt, and this has been happening for decades. To come out of that, to break that, is very hard. For example, I'll tell you, there is a festival happening, and another one, Jammu Mahotsav, which has been happening for some years. They talk about the Dogra identity. They, since we've been raising the issue, so now they've been started playing these small games. They say, "Ha, chalo, hum Jammu Mahotsav karenge." Who do they get? People, the kind of artists they get for Jammu Mahotsav, they'll get people from Punjab. And I have nothing against Punjab. I love Punjab. I love Bhangra. I love Gidda. I've done a lot of Gidda in my school years. But the point is that we are talking about a region which is deprived of its cultural identity. It's losing its cultural identity. The language is getting lost. You really, really need to push harder to preserve it and promote it. So you get local artists are not promoted. You will get these already very rich, very famous Punjabi artists, and you'll get them to Jammu. Then they are having a event right now. I think it's starting tomorrow. It's called Fulkari. If I ask you an honest question, Kushal, when I say Fulkari, what is the state that comes to your mind when I say Fulkari?
Punjab.
Punjab. So they have called this event Fulkari, and we don't know, like, why? I don't know why. And they say, "नहीं, हम जम्मू को promote कर रहे हैं."
As a Punjabi, I can only tell you it's just our nature. We kind of take over everything.
Yeah, yeah. No, we could actually get into this battle about Fulkari, because when I used to talk to my grandmother and great grandmother, they used to say, "नहीं, Fulkari हमारा था, Punjabi ले गए." So I'm going to leave it to the grandmas. But I have to say that I agree with you that today, as of now, when I say Fulkari or anybody says Fulkari, you think of a beautiful Punjabi woman, you see the beautiful Fulkari dupattas and the Fulkari work, and you will never think of Jammu. So now we are having a festival in Jammu where some artist, and I do not mean any insult, somebody called Rohan Preet. I don't follow Punjabi pop music. So somebody called Rohan Preet is coming. The festival is called Fulkari, and the Jammu Tourism Directorate is trying to convince us कि नहीं नहीं ये जम्मू के heritage को हम बचा रहे हैं. Like how? फुलकारी बोलकर ही
we
पंजाब लगता है.
we are saving Jammu by making Jammu people speak Punjabi.
Yes, yes. See, it took us now. You've brought a very important point. It's been what, a few months back that Kashmiri and Dogri have become the official state language. Only now. It took
Yeah,
70 years, 70 plus years, and finally Dogri to eighth schedule of the constitution. It took us what, 2003. 2003 we got it in the constitution. लड़ मर के बस में लोगों को भर भर के दिल्ली लेकर आए थे, वहां रोए गए थे. And I can tell you, I was present in the sense that I was in Lady Shri Ram in Delhi University at that point of time, and I have heard Ustad Allah Rakha Sahab, Zakir Hussein's father. They are Dogras basically. I've heard them give speeches, and Ustad Allah Rakha, though he lived in Mumbai, he loved Dogri. So he has given these passionate speeches about how Dogri should be included in the eighth schedule of the constitution. So हमको तो लड़ लड़ के 2003 में we got that our language into the schedule. And then finally we got Dogri as our official language just now. उस पे भी लड़ाई हो गई, उस पे भी लड़ाई हो गई, because then we were being told कि why not Punjabi, and why just Dogri and Kashmiri, and we were like, there are more Punjabi speakers in UK, in London, than in Jammu, but still ठीक है, and nothing against Punjabi, as I said again, or nothing against any other language or race, but this is what it is कि हमको जब थोड़ा सा कुछ मिलता भी है तो there are 10 people who are sulking कि इनको कैसे मिल गया. You're like,
So,
come
so,
on.
so this is actually tragically comical.
Hmm.
But I actually wanted to get into Dogri culture and Dogra culture and Dogri language. But before that, somebody's asked a very interesting question. Then, do you think if Jammu would have been a separate region away from Kashmir, it would have been better for them?
I think I'm beginning to think like that. I'll be very honest. So I am a romantic as far as Dogra history goes. Okay. So when I hear Jammu and Kashmir, मेरे सर के अंदर वो bugle बजते हैं, and I see warriors. I see a General Zorawar Singh capturing, the conquest of Ladakh and fighting the Chinese, and I have images of General Bad Singh going up to Hunza and fighting from the front. Brigadier Rajinder Singh, who was the savior of Kashmir, he fought the Pakistanis, 6,000 Pakistanis with 100 men. And the last that was seen of him was he was lying there with a revolver, having blown the Uri Bridge. So I come from a race and I'm a very, very proud Dogra. So I have this image and I think ye mere ancestors ne banaya hai. This is our blood and sweat. Because let me tell you that the Jammu and Kashmir that we see on the map, and the POJK and the Pakistan occupied, I mean, sorry, Jammu and Kashmir, which is occupied by China, very conveniently sold by Pakistan to China, rather. All this has been built by the Dogras. This has been the territories have been consolidated by the Dogras. So when I think of a breakup, even when Ladakh was made a separate duty, though I was happy कि 35A हट गया, मुझे finally as a woman I have got equal rights, I had a tear rolling down my eye कि अरे हम टूट गया, like something broke away from us. But I am being pushed to think that there is no other way we'll get justice, because as long as we are attached to the hip with Kashmir, we are just suffering. If even after abrogation of 370 and 35A, we can have a Fulkari, we can have, we are still justifying why Dogri has been included and made the official language. Let me tell you, you said, it's like a dark comedy. Let me tell you about the horticulture department in Jammu and Kashmir. So they've allocated the budget. Again, Jammu gets peanuts. जैसे हमें तो अधिकार नहीं है कि हम फूल उगा सकें, सिर्फ कश्मीर फूल उगा सकता है. And what they did was, this time there is this very beautiful place called Sannasar, and a lot of tourists visit it, and we have tulips growing there. It's again an area, it's like a field which is surrounded by mountains and hills, and they forgot to grow the tulips there this time
Huh?
after having advertised. I don't think they more than forgot, I think they ran out of money, because सारा पैसा तो फूल उगाने के लिए कश्मीर को दे दिया. So now they grew tulips only in some park in Udhampur, and they forgot this Sanasar area, which is really, really pretty. So you had a lot of people who are in the tour and travel industry and travel bloggers who were like crying about it कि यहाँ फूल उगाना क्यों भूल गए. But जब आपको मिल ही रहे हैं, सिर्फ मूंगफली दे रहे हैं आपको, तो क्या उगाएंगे? So actually we have no rights to flowers, we have no rights to identity, we have no right to having even firefighters भी कम है. हमको तो कुछ आग लगेगी तो we'll have to look towards Kashmir कि भैया, you had 90% of the firefighters are there, we have 5% of the budget allocation. Hospitals, and if you come to the hospital, the GMC Jammu is a joke. Like अच्छा खासा बंदा अगर जाएगा वहां पे सेहतमंद, वो बीमार होके वहां से लौटेगा. They don't have basic facilities. And I'm not joking, I hate to say this about Jammu, because my soul is there, my soul is in that region, and despite that, it pains me, it hurts me. So this is the condition of our hospitals. Matlab, my 70-year-old bua, when she broke her hip, she had to be taken to Punjab. She couldn't be treated in Jammu. So that is the condition of Jammu. Like, I know things are changing in the sense that we have a new aims coming, but really the people are very skeptical. इतना धोखा हुआ है ना हमारे साथ कि we are not sure what is going to come, and these things keep cropping up. So we have major trust issues because of all that has happened with us.
So now let's get into a little bit of history and culture. So could you tell everybody a bit about the Dogra heritage and Dogri as a language, and what's the state of the language? How much is it spoken, or just like, look, I'll be very honest now. As far as Punjabi is concerned, yes, Punjabi is spoken in Punjab, or some areas of Delhi and maybe in Himachal and some places in Jammu. But let me tell you, once kids move to in Mumbai, Punjabi is not spoken in most Punjabi households. Even if it's spoken till the generation of the children, next generation they only speak Hindi, and they, because they live in Maharashtra, they start speaking Marathi. So what's the state of Dogri as a language and Dogra culture as of now?
The state of Dogri is like the absolute existential threat because, as you correctly pointed out, and here I have to give a shout out to all the people from South India, people from Maharashtra, Bengal, all those who have managed to do a very, very good job with their languages. And it is amazing. I live in London and I see even families here, their children speak in native tongues, in Telugu, in Tamil, in Malayalam, in Marathi, in Bengali, and I'm amazed. And I think there is a linkage. I'm surprised about Punjabi because here we see children speaking Punjabi, but I think there is a link with self-esteem amongst the Dogras in Jammu region. Somehow, because we've been told, that you're not important, somehow there is a self-esteem issue with the language. So anybody speaking Dogri, unfortunately, this is our own created, and also there have been some systemic attempts to make the people feel like that. That if you're speaking Dogri, you're a Pendu, you're a Grai, you're like a village simpleton. You should not be speaking Dogri. That has been there has been a very concerted effort to make you feel like that. And plus, if you look at the number of teachers, recently again there were posts advertised for Kashmiri language teachers and Dogri language teachers. So you had 122 Kashmiri language teachers, and you had five vacancies for Dogri. So this has been a discrepancy. This has been a discrimination here as well. There is no independent Duggar channel, so we have no television. So there is no platform for our local artists, for our actors, for our folk singers, for for theater, even theater for that matter. So we don't have an independent Duggar channel. There are no platforms where you can possibly be showcasing, because I have actually picked on quite a few languages by just watching their movies. I can understand Bengali. I can understand Marathi to quite an extent. So I've picked it up because I've been listening or watching their films or listening to their music, and I've picked it up. So we don't have that in Jammu region for Dogri. So it's facing a grave threat, I would say, and it's not been introduced in schools. There has been a recent attempt to introduce it in some government schools. सिर्फ government schools थोड़ा सा सुन लेते हैं, private तो सुनते नहीं है, because if you don't speak English, then you are definitely a lost case according to these
I
types.
just sorry to come into. I just have a question. So I'm going to give you an analogy. I remember watching a TV program where Ramjet Malani and LK Advani were interviewed. It was about Sindhi language and Sindhi culture and history. It was in context कि partition हो गई, तो unfortunately Sindh किसी को मिला नहीं. So because Sindh was not Sindh as a state was left in Pakistan, so the Sindhis were scattered in India. So they actually requested the government of India, and the government of India DD actually had, they formulated something called the Sindhi Sangat, and the Sindhi Sangat then eventually came up with a channel, and just to keep Sindhi language alive. By the way, Sindhis are struggling to keep Sindhi alive too. But is there any such thing or any such effort? I'm sorry to butt in, but I had to give you this question. So is there any such thing done by the Dogra community as far as Dogri music or Dogri language music is concerned?
We have a Dogri Sanstha. So we have the Jammu Kashmir Academy for Culture and Languages, etc. And they've been doing a I think they've been doing a pretty decent job, but it's not enough. Even the Dogri Sanstha is trying, but since they have no support, resource crunch, etc., it's just not good enough. There needs to be more of, it needs to get some state patronage now. That is very, very important. And as you said, that if there are, what are the artists doing? What are these linguists, especially linguists and language enthusiasts of Jammu region doing? Social media has been a boon. Social media has been a boon. And although we have lost our script, so Dogri had its own script, which was very similar to Sharda's script, very close to the Sharda script. So we've lost that script. So there have been some on and off random attempts, efforts to sort of renew the Takri script. It's called Takri. So the script is Takri. So you will see it on some signboards, not all. So on social media, you might see people from Jammu saying, "Why is this not written in Takri? This signboard needs to be in Takri." So these kind of efforts are needed. from institutional efforts, not just people who are doing it on social media. They're holding Dogri classes, or you have, I'll say, come on, Voice of Dogra's platform and do a song for us. So this needs money also. This needs a lot of money, and plus, I'm not going to shirk off the individual responsibility or the societal responsibility. I think there needs to be a cultural revolution in Jammu region. There needs to be a renewal of pride, and that's what like platforms like Voice of Dogras are trying to do. That you take pride in your history. There is an legacy which you should be very proud of, and the only instrument we all know, the instrument for this culture, for history, is language. Once you kill that, how do you take your culture forward? How do you take your history forward? So both for history and for Dogri language, we've been asking that this should be introduced in schools, because there are hardly any books. Now you might have, people might get curious after this conversation and say, chalo kuch book padhte hain Jammu region ke bare mein, and they will be disappointed that there aren't many, not from our perspective. So that's our fair and square. I will say that that blame falls on us. We should be the ones who should be writing, and some of us are trying to do that now. So that's the state of both the language and heritage.
So it's very interesting you mentioned the Takri script. It's like I'll give you an example of Hindus in Punjab. So Hindus in Punjab never really use the Gurmukhi script. So the script, I did not call this name what it is called. So don't judge me. It is called Lande. It is literally called that. So मैं क्या करूं अगर उसका ये नाम ऐसे है. But the funny thing about that script is उसमें वो एक ही मात्रा नहीं है. तो अगर किसी ने लिखा लालाजी अजमेर गए, it will be read as लालाजी आज मर गए. So it's a very weird script. And lo and behold, I just found out a few years ago from one of my family members that you can actually file your income tax returns in India in Lande, because it was the language of the Mahajans, and Mahajani sare tax file karte the, so they had to accept it. Now it's very interesting because Takri is also used by Punjabis. So like in Punjabi, you have Gurmukhi, Shahmukhi, Takri, and Lande. These are the four scripts. Obviously, Devanagari bhi hai, magar it is not considered the Punjabi script. Punjabis will always use these four names first, and then they will talk about Devanagari. But again, I'll use the Sindhi example. Like there are great artists like Master Chandar. I'll give you an example of a great singer of Sindhis. एंड बाय द वे सिंधीज मस्ट बी लिसनिंग, कुशल कौन सा नाम ले रहा है, तुमको शर्म आनी चाहिए, मुझे नहीं आती है. मास्टर चंदर इज अ ग्रेट सिंगर. सो मास्टर चंदर बेसिकली आफ्टर पार्टीशन केम इनटू इंडिया. He wrote some beautiful Sindhi renditions, talking about the partition, about the emotion of partition, and many other things. He basically explained the pain. So now, who are these good? Let's say if I want to listen to their music, right? Dogri in Dogri language, and Dogra artists. So could you then maybe point us out to some places where maybe I can go and start listening to folk music on YouTube and at least make that popular?
Yeah, first of all, Kushal, we also use Landi, and that's for bookkeeping. So I think that
Yeah,
connects with the margin. I've seen
yeah.
my great grandfather, maternal great grandfather, who used to live in a small town called Riasi, very pretty town. So he used to do his bookkeeping in that. So we've seen it being used for that. Now coming to the Dogra artists. Now let me complain first, and then I'll direct you towards the artists, because we've had some very famous ones who unfortunately sort of abandoned us, or they felt कि कोई point नहीं है बात करने का, because they also never got acknowledged by Jammu and Kashmir, and it could be because they came from Jammu region. So the very famous and very well-known Pandit Shiv Kumar Sharma, the Santur, is a Dogra. And as a matter of fact, I just told you that Zakir Hussain is actually Dogra ethnicity. And though not him, but Ustad Allah Raka, his father, used to do a lot for the Dogri language. But now, as of now, we have Suraj Singh, we have a lot of folk groups which have who have their own YouTube channels. So you have Saras Bharti, you have Subhash Brahmanu from Udhampur district. So you have many people. So when you actually go on YouTube, you will find them. They've learned, and I'm so grateful. They've picked up on this whole social media revolution and realized कि ये लोग तो करेंगे नहीं, हमें खुद कुछ करना होगा. So they are beginning to do that. So you can actually go on YouTube and find them there. Ruhi Juhi Singh, you have Varsha Jamwal. So a lot of these Vanshika Jaral, you have these artists coming up. And of course, the more well-known, if you look at literature, you have Narsingh Dev Jamwal, you have Padma Sachdev, who's known as the mother of Dogri poetry. And so these are the people, but the folk artists you'll find on YouTube now. They've made their
You know,
channels and they're just doing their thing.
See, what I loved about it, see, even my biggest grouse, even when I looked at Coke Studio India or Pakistan, चलो पाकिस्तान से तो उम्मीद नहीं थी, उनकी तो भाषा है नहीं. But let me tell you, when Coke Studio Pakistan covered all the traditional music, they covered Pashto, they covered Sindhi, they covered all the languages that are spoken in Pakistan, Balochi, every language, Punjabi, everything. I looked at Coke Studio India. I found Gujarati. I found a lot of Southern Indian languages. I barely found Sindhi in Coke Studio India. I don't see any mainstream. Like everything is so Punjabi dominated. And look, I am a Punjabi. I love Punjabi music. I love Punjabi culture. I love everything. But the point is, as a person who loves different languages of India, I don't know, I'm fascinated by listening to songs in different languages. I could not find a lot of mainstream artists coming up. Like Pandit Shiv Kumar Sharma is there, but again, that's on the instrumental side, right? That's not on the side of the language. So if we are talking about the promotion of the language, or like I'll give you an example, like Saraiki, right, or Siraiki or Multani. Now you'll find more Multani songs in Coke Studio Pakistan than Coke Studio India, or maybe you'll not find a single song in Coke Studio India. Now, Multani, there are a lot of Multani speakers. A lot of people speak that language. Similarly, a lot of people speak Dogri language. So, how the
And
hell
not
is
just
that?
and not just Dogri, Kushal, because there is Gojri, there are Pahadi
Yeah.
singers, and there are Bhadravahi singers. Because ye Fulkari ke liye, I saw lots of them complaining, people from Bhadrava, that you haven't promoted our artists. There is Padri. Padar itna sundar. This is a beautiful, exquisite valley. It's known as the Sapphire Valley, and you have singers from there. There are so many languages. If you just list down the languages spoken in Jammu and Kashmir, you can just go in search of artists from these languages, from these language groups. So there are so many, and none of them have gotten a proper platform. And though the Jammu singers or the Dogri singers have still managed to get onto YouTube, and like I said, Subhash Brahmanu hai, Saras Bharti hai, so they're doing their stuff. Saras Bharti comes from a family of folk artists, Romalo Ramji. But even in more far-flung districts where Gojri or Pahadi or Bhadarwahi is spoken, Kishtawadi is spoken, you will probably never hear them.
And maybe in the case of Dogri, also because it's spoken quite significantly in Himachal, it still
Yes.
comes forward. So Himachali bhi hai, so they also kind of come forward and speak. Okay, now I want to get into food. So what are the Dogra specialities? And let's say if somebody is going to Jammu now, so they watch this podcast and they say, "हाँ भाई, हम तो अभी जम्मू जाएंगे." So tell them some places where they can have good, authentic Dogra cuisine.
Well, I'm almost nervous saying this because I don't want to miss out on anything. Varna social media pe, I will have Jammu going for my throat. So I would say if you go to Jammu City in itself, it's a street food delight. Street food delight. You have things like, and you will get food anywhere. You go into the old city, you will find excellent food. There will be people ready to see. Another thing is, Kushal, we are deprived of that kind of a traffic and attention, and I would say love. So anybody lands up in Jammu city and says on the social media, "I am here, help me." There will be lots of Jammuites who are very friendly people, very trusting. So they will help you with kahan jana hai. But otherwise, जो street food है उसमें कलाड़ी कुलचा हो गया, rajma kulcha ho gaya, rajma chawal. Our testometer for a dogra is, do you have rajma chawal on a Sunday afternoon? So anybody who doesn't have rajma chawal on Sunday afternoon is not a dogra. He's not a full-blooded dogra. So rajma chawal ho gaye. Our mithais also, our desserts also are very, some of them like patisa from Kud. It's really famous. It's a flaky mithai. I don't even know how to describe it, but you must have it when you go there. There are outlets in Jammu. It's called the Prem Sweets. They are the most famous patisa shop, but there are other shops also. So there is ambal. So if you're having rajma chawal, we eat it with ambal and chane ki dal. Ambal is a khatta meetha kaddu ka dish hota hai, which is made, as you rightly said, we share a lot culturally with Himachal Pradesh, so it's made there also. We have madra, we have mani, we have kiur. So you can go into, I would say, just go into any Dogra home, and or you go to one of these good travel agents, and you can follow Voice of Dogras also to get an idea of, or reach out to us and we'll direct you. So there is a lot that is to be explored. So come over to, and for the non-veg eaters, I am a vegetarian, but for the non-vegetarians, there is khatta meat. which is a dish very popular amongst the Dogra Rajputs, and they make it with anar dana. So anar dane ki chutney. Then samba mein we have these, these very famous gulgulas. Lots and lots of food. Just come over to Jammu. We'll help you.
Just a offbeat question: is Pahalwan the Hatti any good anymore?
It is quite good. It is quite popular, and but there are many more. There are many more in the city, like Rawalpindi, and these are really, really old shops. So they are lesser known. But if you do a city tour, and lots of these travel groups in Jammu do that for you. They'll take you into the city with its narrow lanes, and with it's from a different era altogether. So all these shops exist, like Sai Di Hatti, and you can go there and you will also get a lot of good food. Now, Pehelwan the Hatti is going to give me bad rasgullas because I've just said that you must go to the other shops. But yeah, Pehelwan the Hatti, Sai the Hatti, all these older shops also you must explore. I forgot Kaladi. I'm going to be killed for this. Kaladi is a cheese, a local cheese made in Jammu region. And in fact, you mentioned Aditya. So let me give you a story. I started talking to Aditya because he made the mistake of calling it Kashmiri cheese. This was many years back. So I wrote to Aditya on Messenger. I didn't know him. I just knew him as a journalist. So I wrote to him and I said, "How dare you? ये तो जम्मू का चीज है. एक चीज हमारी है वो भी तुम ले जा रहे हो." So I'm like, "No, you have to correct it." So that's how I started talking to Aditya. And the funny story is that lots of Dogra youth were writing to me, Manu di, see, this is what Aditya has done. ये किया इन्होंने कलाड़ी को भी कश्मीरी बना दिया. So I said, "You talk to them." Nobody wants to talk to Aditya. So I am left to talk to Aditya and say, "No, this is our cheese. You better correct it." So Kaladi you must have. It's to die for. And Ramnagar is where it comes from. So you have Kaladi kulcha and you have these Kaladi parathas, and they're just a sinful delight. You will love it.
All right, all I can say to each and every one is भाई संभाल के खाना, ज्यादा मत खाना, और अगर खाओगे उसके पास व्यायाम जरूर करना. प्लीज वर्कआउट आफ्टर दैट, नहीं तो बाद में बोलोगे कुशल भाई आई हर्ड यू, आई वेंट टू दीस प्लेसेस और मेरा वजन बढ़ गया. देखो, वजन बढ़ने का मेरा काम नहीं है. मेरा एम तुम्हारा वजन बढ़ाना नहीं है. मेरा काम है बताना कि जम्मू का डिफरेंट कल्चर है. सो बिफोर वी रैप इट अप, Manu, so any last things that you want to talk about before we wrap today's discussion?
I think I would, because you have such a such a diverse audience, and you have primarily people listening from all over the world and India. I would like to say that, please, one thing I would request, that whenever you talk about Jammu and Kashmir, don't forget Jammu. And if somebody else is talking about Jammu and Kashmir, please ask, why is Jammu not represented? It will help us a lot, because that's how there will be a demand to know what Jammu feels and says, and what its history and unique culture and heritage is. Secondly, as I told you, tourism is doing so well in Jammu region because there's lots to see, and it's a peaceful, stable region, very welcoming people, very safe. And there is Basoli. I want to mention here, there is this very, very beautiful area of Basoli with its lakes, and this used to be a very beautiful hill kingdom. And the Basoli paintings and Basoli pashmina, which is actually a better quality pashmina than the Kashmiri pashmina, is you can get it there. So come over, see Basoli, come to Kishtawar, come to Bhadarwa, come to Punch, Rajouri, come to Udhampur, come to all these places, come visit us. We are also a great destination for people of deep faith, because we have so many of these Shakti shrines and Shiva shrines, and these are all cave shrines. So even if you're not very deeply religious, the treks to these caves is a delight for any adventure enthusiast or a trekker. So there are these amazing trails. I did one, almost got lost, but it was so much fun. And you won't get lost. Please come. We are there. And you reach out to us on social media. एक पुकार लगाएंगे आप जम्मू के लोगों को. They will be there, and they are very, very happy to help and guide. That's all I would say. So speak up for Jammu, please, guys.
All right, awesome. So, guys, I have left the link to Manu's website in the description of the podcast. Also, a link to her Twitter handle. So, please follow her on Twitter. Also, follow the Voice of Dogras on Twitter. I insist. The beauty of India, let me tell you this. I know I'm a Punjabi, and Punjabi culture is like, in the veins of India. You can go to the southernmost part or any part of India, you'll find Punjabi food. It's not a bad thing. But I think as Indians, the beauty of this country has always been. So I always say this, right? I'm born and raised in Maharashtra, in a Gujarati area of Mumbai. So I always say I'm 33% Marathi, 33% Punjabi, 33% Gujarati, and the balance 1% jo reh gaya is North American because I spent time in that country too. And I have a lot of deep love and affection for both America and Canada and the other countries in North America. Mexico, I don't have anything against you either. But the whole point is that the beauty of our Indian culture has always been celebration of each other's culture, celebration of each other's languages, different cuisine. Just imagine, you just travel 100 kilometers, even inside Maharashtra, the food changes. You will have one side of Maharashtra having extremely spicy food, the other side of Maharashtra not having that much spice in their food. And this applies to every place in India. The reason for today's podcast, like I said in today's discussion in the beginning, was that it's not that we should not talk about Kashmir. I think Kashmir is also a part of India. But let's be very honest. When it comes to the discussion of the state, and always remember the name was always Jammu and Kashmir. Jammu was literally, ignored, not spoken about. Nobody gives a damn about it. Well, I hope that after this podcast, at least some of us talk about it. Some of us make an effort to always remember that there is always a Jammu in Jammu and Kashmir. So, on that note, I would like to end today's podcast. And once again, Manu, thanks a lot for coming on the podcast. And I hope to have many more discussions in the future with you.
Thank you, Kushal. Loved being here.
All right, guys, it's time to wrap it up. As always, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment. Please follow Manu on Twitter and also support the Voice of Dogras. If you like what I'm doing over here on the podcast, please become a member on the YouTube channel, or you can become a member, subscriber on Patreon. Holi is around the corner. Why don't you gift your liberal friends a Charvak Podcast Liberal Holi t-shirt? So please go to the Charvak Podcast website, kushalmehra.com, and buy some Charvak Podcast merch. I will see you guys next time with another interesting discussion. Until then, namaste. Take care. Goodbye.